Protect the flock, we rally in the lion's den. Shield to shield, the storm is thundering. Unleash the roar, let the lions run. Torch the night until the battle's won.
All right, welcome back to the Lion's Den, Friday edition. I'm going to get back on schedule, I promise. Sunday, from 8 arbitration, Wednesday, Lion's Den. But I was going to do one yesterday. We were in Portland and had a fantastic time up there. But we were in Portland. I'll talk about that Sunday. But got back Thursday, was going to do this episode yesterday, but I could not find this recording that I wanted to put up. And it was on social media. I remember that. I could not remember where I saw it. And so I looked at everything imaginable to find this recording that somebody put up and finally found it. It took me all night. Seriously, it took me all night. So it was probably about 10:30 at night I found it. And so I'm like, I'm not going to do an episode now. But this recording, I wanted you to hear it. I don't know where it's from, who it is. It could be fake. It could be AI. I don't know. But somebody put it up, and so I went on and got it. And what it is, it sounds like a teleconference. Possibly a district manager. I guess that's what this guy is. And maybe a POOM or a postmaster, this woman that's on there. And it's the perfect example of what we've been talking about, what we've been educating on as far as protecting our routes, protecting us in the office. And it shows the disconnect from upper management to the station management, supervisor, station manager, right? And so it's the perfect example of that upper management is the one causing the hostile working environment. Because you'll hear, I guess the supervisor, station manager said, hey, I'm going based off of volume, and get ripped up by this upper management. No, you'll go in there and you'll set expectations based off of PET. You'll set expectations based off of DOIS. You will accept no excuses. It's complete ignorance on their part. And you're going to see what I'm talking about. Matter of fact, one of these supervisors or managers states that we had to get off of this care with an injury because the union told us to get off of them because they don't have a standard on the street. There is no street standard. They got a step 4. The district manager has no idea what she's talking about. No idea that there's a step 4 about no street standard. Complete ignorance. And that's what we're dealing with when we're talking about a hostile working environment created on the workroom floor. Sometimes it's not because of the supervisor and manager. They're the vessels, right? They're the tools that are used by upper management who's basing things off of things they cannot use, PET and DOIS, right? So you're going to hear that. They talk about demonstrated performance. I'm telling you, everything that we have been discussing, y'all are fixing to hear from management in real time, except it was recorded. But I want you to hear how they talk about carriers with injuries. The complete disrespect dealing with carriers with injuries. They give no consideration to that. None. They talk about setting expectations based off of DOIS and PET. Addressing performance based off of DOIS and PET. You're going to hear all these things. Not once. They're always asked, let me see your 3996s. Let me see your 1017B logs. Are you addressing performance? Not one time do these experts now, these upper echelon management, these district managers, whoever else, this lady who just screams like a banshee on here, not one time do they say, let me see your efficiency counts to address performance. Let me see your 4584s where you've gone out on the street to check performance in accordance with 134 of the M39 handbook. Let me see your 1838Cs where you've done efficiency counts. None of these things. Performance to them is based off of PET and DOIS, and if you're not meeting those things, you're underperforming, and it needs to be addressed. And so that's when we talk about educating on the floor, educating based off of PET and DOIS. Any regional training, these are hot topics. They should be doing things about defeating management's arguments on PET and DOIS. 3996s that come back, the volume doesn't justify it. Well, where did you get that from? When you talk about the volume doesn't justify it, what did you look at? And we request those things. These things need to be taught at state trainings, regional trainings, local trainings. We should put an emphasis on this nationwide because you're fixing to hear why. There's no consideration of fixed office time. None. You hear this female, again, she screams like a banshee almost this whole way through it, just getting in management's butts. And so, remember, this is my Wednesday edition, so I can't say half the thing I want to say. But talking about this volume, this carrier shouldn't be in the office more than 20 minutes. Well, how is that possible if I've got 33 minutes of fixed office time? That's what I'm talking about. The sheer ignorance of them at that level, pushing local management to do things that they're not allowed to do based off of memos that we have, and we'll address those later. But it's a long recording. I apologize. It's probably about 40 minutes. So you can fast forward if you want, because at the end of it, I'm going to give you the things that you need to defeat everything that they're talking about. But you're going to hear exactly the fight that we're in. This is the fight that we're in. The carriers on the workroom floor. This is it. You're going to hear it. They immediately come out with PET, then DOIS, our performance, not accepting excuses like we're doing the best that we can, not tolerating those employees that are injured, their excuses. It's all about one thing and one thing only, the numbers. It's all about the numbers, period. Nothing else. They've been brainwashed. The numbers, the numbers, the numbers. You'll hear this district manager talk about the step 4, but there's no street standard. He has no idea that there is one, and tells the supervisor, make the union produce it. It's crazy, man. I'm telling you. This is the fight that we're in, though. We're in a fight with local management because they're, like I said, they're the tools. They're the vessels that are being used by ignorance at the top. When you talk about these metrics, they don't take any of these things into consideration. PET takes out everything that we have except stick and mail. You hear that when whoever this lady is talks about the volume that they have. They shouldn't be in the office for 20 minutes. That's PET. That's PET. Okay? Okay, I'm going to get off of that. You're going to hear this, and then on the end of it, I'm going to come back, and I'm going to give you the things that you're going to need, the step 4s, and I've got one site I'm going to read from. And there's several that I have, and it's on episode 59 on the other podcast I do. Episode 59, you'll see all the sites, but this is the best site that I've got when dealing with these things, and it's from a gentleman named Paul Toms. Did it for us, and it's arbitrator August. But I'll read just the decision part, okay? And then I'll read these other things. But here you go. Here's I guess it's real, maybe AI, I don't know. Found it on social media. And so, no idea who put it up, no idea where it came from, no idea who the people are talking. I just know that this woman just screams like a banshee almost the whole way through this thing. And the poor district manager, clueless. He just has been told, hey, go based off of PET, and that's all I know. So here you go. Here's the recording. And then on the other end of it, we're going to talk about some sites to help you out, all right, if you're dealing with these things, okay?
But I do see, and I know, I'd like to know, when I look at your guys' PET tools and expectations for use by all units, and I can look here in 8 to 10 days, you guys haven't once accessed the PET tool. So your Barb, I see what tools and how are you guys even beginning to set expectations for your carriers?
Based on the volume, but yeah, we haven't used the PET tool.
Yeah, I think what bothers me most is you're also not really using the DOIS workload or the route carrier performance report to address performance, and you're not really using the workload status report in a time that down here you used it one day in the last 8 days. So how are you guys managing performance in Williston? How are you setting expectations? How are we making sure we're capitalizing and minimizing the delays?
Well, we can't be if we're not using the tool, so.
Exactly the right answer. So Bob, how come we're not doing this?
I got to train my supervisor.
You think for as long as we've been talking that is something that would have been done a while ago, right? And it's still ultimately your responsibility to make sure we're setting expectations correctly, right?
Yes.
So that may be what you have to do, and that maybe needs to get done. But why haven't we done it?
I don't have an answer. I'm not going to make an excuse. I haven't done it. I need to do it.
That's the free-for-all, right? That's the free-for-all we're not going to do.
No, I'm saying I haven't done it. I don't have an excuse.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is the unit itself is running in free-for-all mode. Management team's not pulling any of the data sets that tells us what the expectation should be. You're not well enough skilled yet to just do it visually. Sorry. So you have to use. And Shannon, I can't go watch every data set for every one of your offices.
Yes, ma'am.
When you guys talk on Mondays, do you even bring some of these data sets up for delivery?
I do when I have all the people on the call. I actually canceled my call today so I could be on here with the Minot postmaster as well, so that you could see everything. So
you should have somebody that can kind of go in your stead. I don't personally call for this, right?
I understand. Didn't have anyone today.
But in all truth, I don't know. How did we not use the simplistic forms? Let's go because I'm a little. What are you going to show when we look at your 96 books?
I don't know.
Were you just going to make it up? Like, I'm not following.
No.
So, Barb's not the only one, you guys.
I know.
I do want to stress the using and other tools available to us. A lot of the offices have moved. Those that still struggle with consistency, are not seeing the movement because we're not following process. The other thing I got to bring up is volume recording, which is what gets us to the corrector and workload. And so, looks like you guys missed Saturday. You have a chance to still fix that for your 43 routes, both letters.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. Yeah.
So you've got to have that solid process on the weekends, right? If we're not going to be there, we got to make sure.
Yeah, I was here, but I will be honest, there is literally zero process for anything in this office at all. So.
Yep. So we got to start at the core, right? Set good expectations.
Yep.
Then they'll record anything. Williston missed on Thursday and Friday. Too late to correct that. Missed both letters and last. So not only are we not setting expectations and using the tools, we're not getting the credit we need if we were. Barb, you got to tighten up that process too.
Yeah, I caught Friday on Saturday because he missed it, but I didn't catch Thursday and Friday.
It's on the checklist,
Friday.
right? This is volume entry. This is exactly what we're talking about.
I know.
Is there a checklist in your facility?
Yes. Yes.
Does it say volume entry, CSC,
Yes.
Seesaw, whatever, DOIS? Why aren't you going to hold him accountable? Are you going to tell me it's because he hasn't been trained? Or she, whoever?
He.
They can't follow a checklist?
No, he's following it. He missed it. He missed
3
it.
days in a row, miss?
Well, like I said, I caught it on Friday. I caught it Saturday on Friday.
That would mean that he forgot it. Oh, go on. I can't open the door today.
And Sarah, I do see Sauk Rapids is seems like they kind of fall outside of your processes, well, Sync Cloud is generally pretty good. Stock Rapid pops in quite a bit. So
Okay.
I don't know how you have your sheets organized, your checklists. But you got to make sure you're following process in both locations, right?
Right.
You're just shooting yourself in the foot. So you can still go back and fix Saturday's time.
And I'll address the supervisor who missed it.
Well, yeah, we just got to get the process, right? All right. Going to start digging into our performance data a little bit after that conversation. But know what level of conversation we can have. You're the second biggest opportunity on variance to earn, but you're so far out of your expectation setting process and even missing volumes for last week. This is what happens when we don't use those controls, right?
Yes.
I mean, you were almost 1,000 parcels under base last week, so it's not parcel volume, right? And, you know, you've added a fair number of manual pieces even, which I hope are the holiday or the weekend stuff into Monday, but that's probably something you should look at as well. But you're not setting those expectations. If you're not having that, how do you expect this number to change?
By doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, and if you think about it, you got 12 routes, right? And this is the average variance to earned, almost 1 3/4. You're desperate for people, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, one of my problems is the City 8. He doesn't report downtime. He comes in at 9 o'clock.
Well, what time do you start time?
Well, most of mine come in at 7 now because I have the parcels ready by 8, so I kick them
So
out.
what time did you establish? This is what I'm saying.
Wait.
No, hold on. You said most of mine, but he starts at 9, which means there's others that start at other times.
Because he's a drag. That's out of my control. So he comes in and he doesn't report downtime. He doesn't say anything. And then all of a sudden he'll be like done, and he'll tell the shop steward. One time he just said, "Put me in for sick leave," and he leaves. So he doesn't even case his route. One time it wasn't ready, and he sat in the lunchroom. But nothing in his draft says he can't case. So I don't know what to do with him.
Well, he's not even your real problem.
I know my other carriers are,
He's not your real problem, is he? Becky,
Well-
that route hits the middle of the pack.
Yeah, but how is his route 8 hours on the street? So literally, he's on the street 8 hours. He comes in. I have City 1 casing it every day because he can't be in the building until 9 o'clock. So
We're gonna have to work with the traffic because he's supposed to take that ox route to fill his 8 hours. So I will work with you with him later.
yeah, the one time we gave it to him, he didn't do it and brought it back. So
Yeah. Well,
But then
I
you have to address that.
accountability there. Yeah.
well, I'm trying to address it. Now I'm getting an EEO. So
So what? Move on.
no, I don't care about that. But
Willis is going to need different attention. I'm not spending the whole call talking to Willis.
Yeah, I got you. So, see, I know you're new. You like, but there's no new, right? So, we've got Route 14 out of your group, almost 5 hours over earned last week. Are you aware of his performance?
I don't even know which route that is. Sorry. I know that we are doing a 99 on Route 48 and then 2407 this week for sure.
Yeah. You're going to want to take a look at some of the routes that are at the top of this list for you, because we are going to keep you on this call, right? And you guys you're here for your performance overall, right? And if you look at it here, you got at least 5 or 6 routes that are really out of alignment, with the earned workload they're getting, right? And so you'll really want to, between now and next weekend, next Friday or Monday when we talk, make sure you get some walks and eyes, point to points, office, 1838C's observations on at least some of these, so we can talk and have accountability around it, right? Okay. All right. What else do we have on the call today? Over to Shakopee. All right. Route 10 and 8 still up there with 7 and 2. I mean, actually a lot of opportunity, but what are we doing with those opportunity routes 10 and 8?
So 10, we did a 99 on her. She still can't finish in 8 hours. She brought back 2 hours worth of stuff.
So what does the 99 come in at?
I would have to double check for it.
So you did the 99, but you don't know what the demonstrated performance was?
I knew what it was. I just have to, off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what it is.
What was it?
But she stopped in 8 hours.
She stopped?
And then we had to do it 2 days. So the first day, because she's medical restriction, she only works 8 hours per day. So we had to do the remainder the next day, and that amounted to 2 hours. What was left over?
So what day did you do the first part of the 99 last week?
It wasn't last week. It was a couple of weeks ago.
So did he or she work on Saturday?
Yes, she did. And she came.
Yes.
Well, she finished in 8, and then we pivoted what she brought back.
All right, but her total route was projected at 7 and 13. So why would you give her any assistance instead of holding her accountable to her expected performance?
Because she has new addition on her route that wasn't accounted for before that she was delivering. And
What do you mean by a new addition?
she has like 60 new addition to her route, 60 boxes, new boxes to her route.
Do you think 60 new boxes would account for over 45 minutes of time?
No,
So there's an earned workload here and a projected time based on that workload. This mail includes whatever those delivery points are. I don't know if you've activated them in the edit books or what, but I have a difficult time understanding why we are continuing to provide assistance instead of holding them accountable for their performance time.
I was holding her accountable, but I was told to back up on her and abide by what her medical restriction says. And the union says I can't hold her to any standard on the street because they have step 4 proving that. So I mean, we walked with her, we did the 99, and another thing is that.
Do you work for the union or do you work for the post office?
No, I work for the post office. We did have a hard time with it, but I'm gonna be doing 99 more often on her, but we did not find any.
How about Route 7? Do they have medical restrictions?
No.
And we let them go 10.5 hours on a 7.5 hour route.
Hey, that's a clock ring error.
What error would it be?
So he wasn't clocked to the street, to the office correctly, and he did extra
Where did he do extra?
on the rural side.
So what are you doing to hold your carriers accountable for clock ring hygiene?
I will address that with him. That's the first that he has this error. So I will address it with him.
So
But he doesn't go
you
over
tell me that's his first clock ring error? Is that what you just said?
that I've seen. Because I never had to fix any clock ring errors for him before.
All right. Well, you got to address it, right? Because we got to have proper hygiene, so we know.
I will
Anytime.
address.
For that matter.
And
So-
for C6, so those are borrowed carriers, and I don't have access to make any. So T did the pivot on 10, but he didn't clock to it. But I do not have access to make changes to his clock ring.
Okay, I don't see an assignment for him on 10.
Okay, so we missed that also. but he did do the pivot on 10. But I can't change his, I can't edit his clock rings.
I get that. Do you have a 1260 showing where he should have been? So you
I
can
would
get
have to
it
check with
to the borrowed office? I mean, right? You can reach out to them and get it corrected?
the problem with that is that he's gonna be under their finance number, and they don't want that. So I requested access for he's from Waconia. I requested access for Waconia's tax, but I haven't received it as yet.
I think overall, when I looked at your numbers last week, I think you're doing fairly well managing the total work hours right now. I guess my concern is a few of these things that stick out every day, like I just pointed out, right? That we missed an assignment, we have a clock ring here, there's somebody who's really one individual or two that aren't making that performance data, right?
Right.
So I need you to be addressing that, continue to be addressing those performance issues, right?
Yes.
Across the board. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Spidey, I mean, these numbers are pretty big for some of the averages, so I think we got to do something better with Route 10, and I'll try to figure out what I can do to help you with that one. Because do you have a copy of that step 4 you referenced?
No, but I can get it.
Yes, please do. I'd like to see what they're referencing. That would be remotely impacting of your office.
It was,
Okay.
There's nothing in this step 4 that's going to be done in time.
That's why I want to see it, because I want to help her understand she can hold her accountable, she can drive the performance, and she should be, right? Because that's where we're at. And the same goes for Route 8, 7, all of these, right? There's going to be nothing medically that says you can't hold her to standard, right?
Or we don't
Okay.
work her.
Yeah, and we don't work. So, you should be eating.
I don't have to work a limited duty person. I don't have to work a light duty request. I don't have to do anything. They just think we do. And if they can't do the job, it's the level it needs to be done, any aspect of that, then they just don't work. It's simple. I gotta go to my other meeting.
I know you do, ma'am. Have a good time over there.
Oh.
All right.
But I am using all of the 3996, the performance reports, and
Yep.
the PET tool. I utilize them every day.
I know you do. That's why we stayed on managing the performance you do have with some of those people. Route 10 concerns me. It looks like you may have some bad information. Send me that step 4. If
Okay.
they can't provide it for you, then it doesn't exist, and you got to start holding her accountable. You got to, Tiff. If you're using the forms like you said, right? You should be disallowing the 96 time. You should be recording the 1017Bs or following up with failure to perform duties or failure to perform, right? So, got to start driving that route. Thank you.
You're
All right,
welcome.
look, see you're on.
Yes.
All right. What do we got going on here? I almost want to say it's clock rings, but I don't want to put those words in your mouth.
Let me look here. So, earned office.
Because you got some excellent performance out of Route 1. You've got almost equally poor performance out of 3, and then Route 2 somewhere in the middle, right?
Well, here's the deal. Our PTF carrier was on City 1. One of our PTF carriers was on City 1 last week, and she is good. And she just blows the other 2 out of the water. The other 2 are so, they're just plain slow. I don't know what
So
what
what
to
are you
do
doing to
with them.
address that performance?
I've been after them, but I've been told to kind of back off on City 3 a little bit because he has restrictions, 8-hour restrictions, and
So who told you to back off on them?
because it was getting to the point where it might be a harassment issue or something.
If it's based on data, you have nothing to fear.
But he keeps preaching like you can't hold us accountable for that street time.
You can. You got more words than I do on this one because they can. Well, I mean,
It's variable on, it depends on the person. Everybody's different.
Well,
yes. I mean, you
there are-
can't just say every day you're going to be 5 hours, right? I mean, whatever it is. But you have fact-based data, right? If you look at, that whopping 1,300 pieces of DPS that you delivered, and the 300 pieces of case mail, on what planet is that going to equate to over base, over age, et cetera, et cetera? So you can't just say make it or else. You have all the data in the world you need right there, right?
Yeah, and last week he told me this is only my 10th day on this route. I'm still trying to get this.
I just pulled up the last 3 days of last week for you, and he's had about 7 hours of work every day.
All right. Let me do what I did on the call.
Correct?
Yeah, I was going there next. Yeah.
Real quick. So I'm gonna see what your base is for all of this, right? I mean, clearly you're probably below base parcels because everybody is, but I mean, we could look at a report for that. But the biggest piece of your volume there, right, is always a DPS now, because we don't case any mail anymore. So if I look at that, what are we looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? E?
Yes.
Okay. They don't have a base. You must not have had an inspection that was entered.
Probably not since last summer. We're trying to get the rules set up here, and I'm hoping to get out there and do the $39.99 with him.
Right. But I guess
week.
the point that I was making is all those things that are said to you are deflections to try to get you to stop doing your job, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, like Dan said, if we're using fact-based data, which is the volume, right, and we're using, our knowledge of the operations, that's not harassment. It's your job. You're not doing your job if you don't ensure that you have an efficient run office. It's now you're the problem. So they can say all the things that they want. I mean, as long as you're being respectful and using, dignity and respect to present your case, let them file it. Little mail as we've ever delivered in our history, probably, at least in the last 100 years. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Gone. So it's crazy. I mean, that's the only recourse that someone has that doesn't want to do their job. You're picking on me, you're harassing me, you can't. The union said, none of those are valid, right? Use the data and stick with it. We can't let up. Right? You can't let up. As soon as you let up, they got the result they wanted, right? Get it back up.
Yeah, and look across your routes here. When if we do an inspection there, those routes are going to change drastically because you just don't have volume or time. And even if you go off this route, with restrictions, what have we done about? It's almost twice as much time on the street as is required, right?
He tells me he's going as fast as he can, but I have to.
Are you the postmaster there? Are you the postmaster there?
Yes.
Then
He needs to
stand up and do your job now. Is what these guys are so calmly trying to pass the lead you down. You have a job to do. I don't care what your carriers are telling you. You're the boss. They're not performing the workload. Period. That's it. That particular route had 20 letters. Stay with me here. 20 letters, 47 flats, 12 spurs, and 416 pieces of DP in 12 packages. And it took us 7 hours. Tell me again what the carrier has to say?
He's going as fast as he can.
Well, you tell him that it's not the standard. You let him stay in that office for an hour and 25 minutes with barely 20 minutes of work. Barely.
I don't know if that is accurate for office.
Well, that's his clock rings, and that's your volume.
Yeah.
All of your people stayed in there an hour and 20 minutes, and there's no volume.
I'm gonna have to go back and take a look at that.
Instead of going and adjusting your carriers?
Well,
because they're going as fast as they can. See, I'm not going to accept that from you. You may be getting that from your carriers. I'm not accepting you saying this is what they're saying. That I'm asking what you're saying. What are you going to do about it?
And it's astounding to me, Heather, how close they leave every single day to each other.
Together? Yeah.
I mean, this isn't about performance. This is them hanging out until they're ready to quote unquote go. And it not being addressed in the office. Including the one quote unquote who blows it out of the water. I need you to start engaging with your team here. We're going to dive into your 96 book much more in the coming weeks because you can't continue to pay employees at this rate across the board. And we need you to engage and have the performance conversation.
I need to bring me his documentation for his disability too. So
it doesn't matter. You guys are trying to create these scenarios. They can either do their job or they can't. If they can't, did he get hurt at work?
No, he has.
Okay,
he has
then it doesn't matter. He can either do his job or he can stay home.
Correct.
Period.
And it's not like I'm just letting them go out and get away with it, and I'm not letting them know the numbers, because it got to a point where I was, after them every day. But
you are letting them get by with it every day. I've seen every data set he's pulled up says that.
Okay, so I guess I'm confused of what my next step needs to be. Do I need to have I&Is and let them know that they're
do you have the 96s? If you want me to tell you how to do it, I'm going to ask you, do you have the 96s? Every day? No?
Well, there's two, not every day, but
yes or no?
They do fill one out.
It really is yes or no?
Yes.
Or you deny their request?
Doesn't always turn one in, but
when they don't meet what you laid out, is every one of them on a 1017?
Yes.
Great. Go get your 1017 and show me in the camera. I want to see it.
Okay. I went to my supervisor's desk and it was in the inbox part folder, or I don't know what I call it, or we call it the inbox, and it should have been stapled to the 3996 as disapproved, but he says that he doesn't know what happened to it. So we're frantically looking for it at the moment, for them.
For your 1017?
Correct.
They're in a red folder on the supervisor desk, correct?
Are they supposed to be in a red folder on the supervisor desk? Okay.
Per the OIG instruction for every office in our district.
Okay, I was unaware. I apologize. I'll get that done.
You're going to get a meeting with,
Okay.
have a more focused conversation, because they're saying that she just said back off of him that one day because he was having a temper tantrum. I got a problem with that too. So it's time to have a chat. We're going to have a chat with them, or just put them all with the work call.
All right, I'll make sure they're on them.
So we'll be coming to the work call this afternoon. Ariel will be there. Let's move on to somebody else. Right now, we're not productive.
No.
I don't know how you're on a vital call for weeks, and we've made no adjustment. So far, I've not seen anybody make an adjustment.
All right, let's go over to, you've been around for a while. Rebecca, still on average, got a couple routes here at the top, well over 2 hours. Experience earned last week. What are we doing about, and all of them below base parcels?
Yeah, everybody's below base parcels. Nobody can say the only day that we're probably at base is on Mondays. We'll be doing 90. I have a new opening supervisor starting last week, so we're really pushing getting the carriers out of the building, because that was one of our biggest problems, was that getting them out, getting them to break the fence. So we're pushing that this week. We'll be pushing that from now on, starting last week. We're doing 99s this week. We're working on the top ones first and working our way down to reduce our times.
What routes are we doing 99s on this week?
This week, we'll be doing 13, 14, 17, 39, 12. The ones I said before are 36 on. And we'll be doing 39, 35.
All right. I'll be interested to see where those come back at, especially with the decreased volume.
You know,
Driving your office, you guys were pretty close last week to your earned. Little question about the earned value, though. That's a big number for office. How come so much office time last week?
Last week we had a lot of bypass. Brian, we
don't have bypass anymore.
Well, okay, we don't have a ton of bypass, but we do.
No, we have
You don't have any.
Okay.
Because bypass comes from FSS, and you don't have FSS. So let's use the right terminology. It's one thing, and Dan knows it irritates me. We call something something, we call something. It's not something. It's not bypass. It's bundle flats, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, let's go see what you're putting in there.
Well, you average 2 trays of letters per route.
That's normal.
Sorry. Thank you. So a tray and a half, and almost 1,500 flats per route per day.
You were kidding me.
Flats per day?
Are you sure you're not looking at the whole week?
Well, but it says average. I think we can pick day by day.
Let's go day by day.
There's 3 feeds. There's 3 feeds.
And the only day that would have been a large number would have been Tuesday.
I guess that is the total. I don't know why they call it average then.
Has to be.
Yeah, no way we had that much in one day.
Yeah.
Don't scare me like that, man.
Sorry. So, 3 feet a day, multiple
Can you
days.
click on each day real quick?
Here's Friday,
Okay.
Thursday,
Okay.
Wednesday, Tuesday.
You had more flats recorded. What's that?
That's Tuesday. Sorry, that's Tuesday.
You've got 8,000 recorded on 2 other days during a normal week. You guys don't have the class flats. Go back to Thursday.
That's Friday.
Friday, the 29th
Friday.
would be Thursday.
Okay, so Friday. You have almost as many flats recorded for Friday as you did Tuesday.
Our zones are not poor people, so we get a lot of mail.
Huh?
I'm just saying we get a lot here because it's Edina. It's not. I'm just saying. It's the area itself that we get a lot because of the it's a high rent district.
Can you go to route level for me? So you have about a 50%. You have 50% flats in the same amount of DPS. You have. Look at DPS numbers.
Yeah.
You can't fit the DPS. It comes off the machine, right? I don't believe it. I've been in too many units. Sorry. You don't. Not 3 or 4 days a week. I'm gonna have to come see your rich office again. Let's go, man. I can't.
Yep, nope. So we got the 5 routes with the 99. Looking forward to seeing the results on those, please.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk to Minnehaha. What do we got going on Route 30?
34 was just 99 actually on the 30th. Came back at 7.5 hours on the street, and on Saturday they did 8 hours. So they're turning it around, and we're just keeping pressure on them. That's the expectation every single day with them.
Go to that route, and I want to see every day last week. They didn't come back in those 7 hours on Friday or Saturday.
Street time.
You got a variance of 3 hours, so you didn't come back in 6 or 7 or 8 or even 9 hours.
7.57 was the street for that one.
What was their total time?
9.04 with the person that cases that route.
Total street time.
That's just the street time? Total base hours.
I'll give you not the.
Gotcha. You want the variance. Total variance to base.
What?
Well, there's your. Did you say that's just street time?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, how are you telling? Come on. Hey,
That's the average hours per route, ma'am.
why are you trying to feed me that we got them back in 7 hours?
On the street is what we're working with him is because he doesn't case his route. Somebody else has to case it for him per his restriction. And we were losing the most on just the street with him. Obviously, not just on the street, I misspoke, but we're losing so much on that route that to address this area was the street. And that's
Can
what
you
we're
just go back to the street where you were? Because none of it was 7 hours, even on the street. So we took 8 hours on the street on Friday, on the street, on the street only, and almost not Saturday. So where did this miraculous, we're starting to turn it around come from?
We're not starting. We're going the right direction with him, with as far as setting an expectation and performance and holding him accountable. We're at that where he goes one more day over from his expected performance is a day in court, and he's got to read about it.
It looks like you should be reading about it right now.
He should have been reading about it a long time ago. Yes, ma'am.
And how many 1017s do you have?
For him, every single time he goes over, there should be a 1017.
I know what
the
there
instruction
should
with
be
my
and what
PM
you're supposed
supervisor.
to be. But what is? What is?
I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not to do that every
Watch 1017 get live, and you can let her know.
Yep, give me a second.
See, I think we're kind of talking. I've heard fluff from every person I've talked to today or heard her talk on. My gut instinct right now is for me to go get my car and go to one of these offices. I can't go to them all. I can't. Damn, I can't.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to give me, and I already know you have the data, so this ain't a big pool, but on the 11 o'clock, I want to see your trends on streets and total variance.
I could tell you're glad of what can be.
In general. I meant for the whole city, not just a couple of these
I
spots.
sold 100 hours.
Well, I knew you'd have it. I just wanted to give you enough time to grab it.
I got it. I updated it this morning. Last week was worse. Obviously, it was a holiday, right? But there's no movement at all. A few offices have moved, but hasn't made an impact.
Definitely not. But you got on there. Tell me there's about 15 pages attached there.
Not for him. This is the only one that I saw.
He's a big problem, right? That's what you self-admitted?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I only saw 2 entries.
It's not any better than that. It's only like 7.
Oh, maybe I just couldn't see it. But there ain't enough. He had 7 from last week.
There's not what there should be on here, no, ma'am.
There's 7 from last week.
Yep. So now I will address my supervisor, my closing supervisor, because this was something.
Okay, you just getting me on the very end here, right? So we ain't gonna have time to go on to another office. So just tell me. Stress. heard it from every single person we've talked to. I heard it from Lucy. I've heard, what does that mean for you? I'm going to go address my supervisor right there. What's that mean? I'm going to go have chat?
At this point, ma'am, that I have to have an eye with my closing supervisor because I already set this expectation, and they clearly are not doing it.
I think this isn't a closing supervisor problem. I think it's a whole problem. And we're just literally trying to feed me some yum-yum during telling me how to get him back and stuff. And he was less than whatever. Those aren't true. So we're trying to have a conversation to get off a call and get out of a call. And, oh, we're good till next week now. No, you're not. Nobody is safe without conversation. All of you have work to do, or you wouldn't be here. Keep fighting it. Keep fighting it. And then now we're going to get to the point where some of you are like, well, it's only an hour. It's only going to do what I want as long as I don't have to argue with the carrier, hold somebody accountable. I'm going to do everything in my job here. Support it. Then I don't have to fight counsel. I don't have to hold my supervisor accountable. And not holding myself as the leader of this group accountable. That's what you're saying. All of you are saying. The union says this. He's just slow. Go. We haven't documented. We haven't do this. We don't print. Go and even enter volume in some cases. Shame on you all at this point. That's why I'm going to leave it with shame. You've been given every tool possible, every resource there is. So if you need extra training, go do it. Otherwise, I expect for us to run like a well-oiled machine. Minor hiccups along the way when we need oil or gas. Got it. Well, we're not. We're just going. You guys start running into your house for all. Best I can tell. I'll leave it there. Best I can tell. It's a free-for-all. I don't have any. I would like to give words around to somebody to speak. I'm not even giving you. We're done today. Here.
Yes,
on
ma'am.
here.
We'll see you all next week.
All right, so there you have it. It's long. I told you it was long, but you heard what I'm talking about. This is the fight that we're in. This is the fight that we're in. Demonstrated performance. PET, DOIS, performance. Setting expectations based off of DOIS and PET. Nothing about performance, how to gauge performance. Efficiency counts, 4584s, 1838Cs. None of that stuff that we would request if they try to come after us. When you talk about my performance, what have you done to gauge my performance? And we would deal with those things in agreements, right? No consideration of fixed office time. You heard those things. But here's a few things that we're going to use, okay? And if they're listening, here's some things for y'all. I'm trying to help y'all's ignorance right here. But M829 is going to be one of these that we're going to use. So get your pen and pad, M829. And I'll read it in part. The question raised in this grievance is whether management may discipline a letter carrier for expansion of street time and or authorized overtime using data obtained by management during a one-day inspection of the carrier's route. You heard them talking about 3999s. Basing things based off of 3999s. If they did it here, that's demonstrated performance. If the 3999 says that they did this last week with the same amount of mail, they should be doing it again. That's demonstrated performance. That's the reason this is so important. M829. They're trying to say we have a demonstrated performance, which we do not. Why? Because there's no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. So I cannot have a demonstrated performance, okay? And that's one of the things that I was upset about with the memos when you talk about these parameters, the minutes. Can't have averages. Can't have averages. If there's no set pace, I cannot have a street average for anything. I don't care if you have 1,000 carriers doing something and you take averages, I cannot have averages. That's one of the main things I was so upset about those memos. And on the other podcast, let y'all know how upset I was because you cannot do that. As a union official, you cannot say, I'm going to take something that has no street standard I'm going to take something that says no set pace at which you must walk. I'm going to take that and I'm going to give you an average. To me, that was asinine. And I can say that on this one, right? Asinine's not a curse word. Okay? So here we go again. M829. The question raised in this grievance is whether management may discipline a letter carrier for expansion of street time and or authorized overtime using data obtained by management during a one-day inspection of the carrier's route, $39.99. After further review of this matter, we mutually agreed that no national interpretive issue is fairly presented in the particulars evidence in this case. Under Article 16, no employee may be disciplined except for just cause. In this instance, the parties agree that a one-day count and inspection may not be used as the sole basis to establish a standard against which a carrier's performance may be measured for disciplinary purposes. All right? Here's another one, M1664. This is the DOIS memo. M1664, because you heard them talking about DOIS. 3996s. Let me see all y'all's 3996s. We're denying all of those based off of PET and DOIS. So here's DOIS memo, M1664. The Delivery Operations Information System, DOIS, is a management tool. It's not a tool that we jointly agree upon. It's a management tool for estimating a carrier's daily workload. Estimating. That's a key word, estimating. It didn't say for determining a carrier's daily workload. It says estimating, all right? The use of DOIS does not change the letter carrier's reporting requirements outlined in Section 131.4 of Handbook M41. The supervisor's scheduling responsibilities outlined in Section 122 of Handbook M39, or the letter carrier's and supervisor's responsibilities contained in Section 28 of Handbook M41. DOIS projections are not the sole determinant of a carrier's leaving or return time. And that's critical when we're dealing with 3996s, okay? And then those morning expectations. When they come around, they say, these are your expectations. You're going to be out of the office in 37 minutes. Those are not expectations. They're determining my leave time based off of DOIS. As such, the projections cannot be used as the sole basis for corrective action. A 5-minute time credit for lines 8 through 13 will be added, or when route inspection data is available for lines 8 through 13, the actual average information will be used for daily workload projections. Management is responsible for accurately recording volume and other data in DOIS. Other than obvious data entry errors, route-based information may only be changed through a full count and inspection or minor route adjustment. Additionally, the parties have previously agreed that functions in DOIS which relate to the route inspection and adjustment process must be in compliance with the city letter carrier route adjustment process and subchapter 141 and chapter 2 of the M39 handbook. Exceptions are offices that have jointly established an alternate route adjustment method. DOIS-based information in such offices shall, as appropriate, comply with alternate route adjustment method. Here's another one. M304. M304. This one's for the district manager who had no idea that there was a step 4. So this is for him. M304. Each of these cases involve a disciplinary action as a result of route management. In keeping with the principle of a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, it is understood. I thought it was understood, but it's not, because we have district managers who have no idea this is in existence. That there is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. Therefore, these cases are being remanded to the regional level of arbitration with a clear agreement between the parties that these cases are to be arbitrated at the regional level. So I'm going to read this again for the young man who has no idea that there's no set pace at which you must walk. All right, that there is a step 4. How do you get that position? And you have no idea that there's a step 4. You've not set foot on a workroom floor. You've never dealt with a grievance, obviously. How is it possible that you have somebody in such an important position? I'll read it again. In keeping with the principle of a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, it is understood that there is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. How about this one? Just in case he doesn't want to pay attention to the first one. Here's another one, M1769. This is for the young man who has no idea that there's a step 4. Here's another. M1769. The subject office efficiency tool, now this will help with PET as well, okay? The subject office efficiency tool is a management tool for estimating. It's not a jointly agreed upon tool. For estimating, it does not say determining. It says estimating a carrier's daily workload. The office efficiency tool used in the Greater Indiana District or any similar time projection system tool will not be used as the sole determinant for establishing office or street time projections. That covers PET. Accordingly, the resulting projections will not constitute the sole basis for corrective action. This agreement does not change the principle that pursuant to Section 242.332 of Handbook M39, no carrier shall be disciplined for failure to meet standards, except in cases of unsatisfactory effort, which must be based on documented, unacceptable conduct that led to the carrier's failure to meet office standards. Furthermore, as stated in the agreement for this case, there is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. Projections are not the sole determinant of a carrier's leaving or return time or daily workload. So those people on this telecom have never heard of M1769. Projections, DOIS, PET, are not the sole determinant of a carrier's leaving or return time. How many times did you hear them say, go out there and set their expectations? Go set their expectations. This right here is what you're going to need, okay? Projections are not the sole determinant of a carrier's leaving or return time or daily workload. The use of any management-created system or tool that calculates a workload projection does not change the letter carrier's reporting requirements outlined in Section 131.4 of Handbook M41, the supervisor's scheduling responsibilities outlined in Section 122 of Handbook M39, or the letter carrier's and supervisor's responsibilities contained in Section 28 of Handbook M41. All right? So there's your another. Now, I got this off of Contract Administration Unit Contract Talk. It's very good. This is back in 2004. All right? But it's good. I like it. Failure to meet standards. Now, all of this is what we're going to use for what y'all just heard, okay? Because we're in a battle. We're in a fight with ignorance. That's what it is. They will have their supervisors and managers come out there and create a hostile working environment, a toxic working environment, based solely off of PET and DOIS. And I got a good site for you, like I said. Local managers often attempt to discipline letter carriers for failure to meet standards, whether called 18 and 8% to standard, demonstrated performance, or by some other such term. This is never just cause for discipline. NELC and the Postal Service have jointly agreed that failure to meet standards by itself is not disciplinable misconduct. Under the terms of a September 3, 1976 Memorandum of Understanding, the M39 Handbook was modified to underscore this point. Section 242.332 now provides that no carrier shall be disciplined for failure to meet standards except in cases of unsatisfactory effort, which must be based on documented, unacceptable conduct that led to the carrier's failure to meet standards. And that's the reason I will always say, if you're going to request anything to check my performance, it better be an efficiency count, 1838C, a 4584 where you come out on the street and actually seen me not doing something. Not one time did you hear them ask for any of those things. They're basing their performance or sub-performance off of DOIS and PET numbers, solely. They didn't ask for the first thing to say, hey, how have you checked the carrier's performance? You didn't hear that because they don't do that. That's the reason we will always win, and they'll be frustrated. This principle is further reinforced in the July 11th, 1977 Step 4 Settlement M386, which states, management may not charge or impose discipline upon a carrier merely for failing to meet the 18 and 8 casing standards. Any such charge is insufficient. Under the Memorandum of Understanding of September 3, 1976, now M39 242.332, the only proper charge for disciplining a carrier is unsatisfactory effort. Such a charge must be based on documented, unacceptable conduct which led to the carrier's failure to meet 18 and 8 criteria. In such circumstances, management has the burden of proving that the carrier was making an unsatisfactory effort. You heard the gentleman say, I'm doing the best that I can. I'm doing the best that I can, which is the perfect response. It's their burden to prove that I'm not, to establish just cause for any discipline imposed. Some managers seem to have the mistaken notion that the rules have been changed since the new DOIS program is computerized, more modern, more accurate, or whatever. We all know that the quantitative data in the DOIS program are often wildly inaccurate and fail to take into account many of the most significant factors affecting office and street times. But this argument is usually pointless and unnecessary since, in fact, the rules have not changed. This understanding was confirmed in the July 30th, 2001 national level settlement M1444, which provides the following. The issue in this grievance is whether or not the piece count recording system, projected office time, post, or the delivery operations information system, DOIS, violate the national agreement. After reviewing this matter, we mutually agreed to settle these grievances as follows. Daily piece counts, recorded in accordance with the above referenced system, post or DOIS, will not constitute the sole basis for discipline. However, daily counts recorded in accordance with these procedures may be used by the parties in conjunction with other management records and procedures to support or refute any performance-related discipline. This does not change the principle that, pursuant to Section 242.332 of the M39, no carrier shall be disciplined for failure to meet standards except in cases of unsatisfactory effort, which must be based on documented, unacceptable conduct that led to the carrier's failure to meet office standards. Furthermore, the pre-arbitration settlement there provides that there is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. And that's M1444, so there's you another district manager, whoever you are. I don't even know if you're real or not. It could have just been AI. But there's another. There's no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. The regional award, C-7368 by arbitrator Dennis Nolan, who now serves on our national arbitration panel, is a good example of how arbitrators should apply these principles. Now this is C-7368, Dennis Nolan. He wrote the following. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, the postmaster impermissibly based the suspension solely upon the grievance failure to meet numerical standards. This is but the latest skirmish in the long-running war over standards. No doubt it would be convenient for management to have a simple test to apply to employees suspected of loafing, and perhaps the 18-8 standard is a fair test. Whatever that standard merits, the parties have agreed not to use it as the basis for discipline. In C-3237, national level arbitrator Sylvester Garrett ruled that because management had unilaterally changed the meaning of the 18-8 standard by adjusting the size and configuration of carriers' cases, it can no longer use the standard for discipline. The parties implemented his award with a Step 4 settlement on July 11, 1977, M386. That settlement prohibited discipline merely for failing to meet the 18-8 standard. Instead, a supervisor had to charge an employee with unsatisfactory effort and to document that charge with specific incidents of unacceptable conduct. The Postal Service later embodied the same requirement in its handbook, M39, Section 242.332. It is far too late now to ignore those agreements and rules, yet the postmaster cited not a single specific flaw in the suspension letter he sent to the grievant. If for no other reason, the discipline would have to be overturned because the postmaster did not even comply with the Postal Service's own requirements for evaluating the employee's work, and that's exactly what we've been talking about. Nothing asked about during that entire thing that you heard. Did they say, how did we gauge the carrier's performance? Is there a 4584? Did you even walk? Did you take 2 seconds out on the street to see what they were doing? Is there an 1838C? Did you do an efficiency count? Anything? Nothing. Based solely off of PET and DOIS, all right? Now, they created a toxic working environment. We'll say that. You create a toxic working environment. Here's a great site for you, okay? And this is one of my favorite ones. It's from Glenda August, and it's 32453. See 32453. And Paul Toms did it for us, and it's a beautiful decision. And I'm not going to read our position or their position. I'm going to read her discussion. She starts out with the joint statement on violence and behavior in the workplace. I'm not going to read that to you. She states this: the language of the joint statement on violence and behavior in the workplace was entered into by the parties at a much sadder time in postal history. According to management's closing brief, in this case, in 1986, there were 14 employees shot and killed and 6 wounded at the Edmond, Oklahoma post office by a postman who then committed suicide with a shot to the forehead. In 1991, at the Royal Oak, Michigan post office, an employee killed 5 people, including him. Following the Royal Oak tragedy, the parties saw fit to begin a path of healing, which included making sure that everyone in the Postal Service was treated with dignity and respect. From that day forward, in the JSOVB agreement, the Postal Service and its unions added emphasis by incorporating the following words into the statement: "We mean what we say." That statement, coupled with the decision of National Arbitrator Carlton Snow, where he decided the joint statement was an extension of the national agreement and therefore subject to grievance procedures, provided the basis for the union's issue in this case to be heard. The statement is clear in its language, and the parties addressed the behaviors that would not be tolerated. There is no excuse for and will be no tolerance of harassment, intimidation, threats, or bullying by anyone. The parties, in their attempt to create a safer workplace, did not stop at violent behavior such as assaults, but they wanted to nip the issue in the bud by removing the threat of violence, so they also addressed the behaviors that lead to the violence: harassment, intimidation, threats, bullying. All the behaviors known to lead to violence were addressed by the parties, and the joint statement requires those behaviors will not be tolerated by anyone. Beautiful. She goes on and puts Article 34 in there, that language. I'm not going to read that to you. In the case at bar, there are a few stipulations that affect the dispute between the parties, notwithstanding the fact that the union alleges a violation of the JSOVB based on management's use of the Demonstrated Performance Tool, DPT, in the Evansville, Indiana post office. They also have acknowledged management's right to use the tool. The dispute arises, according to the union, in the manner with which the tool has been used against city letter carriers in their office. The union alleges that management, in their zest to use this management-created tool, has used the DPT to harass carriers to levels of performance not associated with the agreed-upon methods for determining time standards. The union maintained that the use of any management-created system or tool that calculates a workload projection does not change the letter carrier's reporting requirements outlined in Section 131.4 of the Handbook M41. The supervisor's scheduling responsibilities outlined in Section 122 of the Handbook M39, or the letter carrier's and supervisor's responsibilities contained in Section 28 of Handbook M41. Additionally, according to the union, there is no time standard associated with the carrier's street duties. The parties agree that there is, now listen to me, district manager, there is no time standard associated with the carrier's street duties. In management's own contentions, they maintain that the matter of demonstrated performance, DP2, also called the list by the union at issue in the instant case, has already been disposed of in the Step 4, where the parties agreed that there is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. Article 34 determines the methods to be used to change current or institute new work measurement systems or work or time standards, and the national agreement dictates that those changes must be done in cooperation with the union. Management, although provided certain exclusive rights under Article 3 to direct employees of the employer in the performance of official duties and to maintain the efficiency of the operations entrusted to it, must do so subject to the provisions of the remainder of the national agreement and constitute with applicable laws and regulations. One of the provisions which must be maintained is that Article 5, prohibition of unilateral action. The employer will not take any actions affecting wages, hours, and other terms and conditions of employment, as defined in Section 8D of the National Labor Relations Act, which violate the terms of this agreement or otherwise inconsistent with its obligations under law. The preceding Article 5 shall apply to city carrier assistant employees. Based on the provisions of the national agreement, management alone cannot implement measurement tools which are not based upon the agreed upon methods for determining the reporting times for carriers. The M39 and M41, incorporated into the national agreement by Article 19, are clear about the methods to be used for managing city letter carrier routes and is the only agreed upon method for use. While management has the right to utilize other methods and tools for their own identification of performance issues, performance discussions which may lead to progressive discipline should be based upon times established by the use of the M39 section 122.21 and 242.321 for establishing leave and return for city letter carriers. Management held the position that the DPT tool is just one of their duties and responsibilities in the daily interaction with employees. And that's exactly what you're going to hear about with PET and DOIS. It's going to be identical to that. I read it again. Management held the position that the use of the DPT tool is just one of their duties and responsibilities in the daily interaction with the employee. And that's exactly what you're going to hear. Included in those duties is the responsibility to give expectations. Now, how many times did y'all hear expectations, setting expectations? How many times did y'all hear that in that telecom? Including those duties, the responsibility to give expectations and monitor performance based on all the tools at their disposal. It was management's position that the union failed to meet their burden of proof by a preponderance of the evidence, that there was intimidation and harassment at the Evansville Post Office in violation of the JSOVB. However, the union offered the statements and testimony at hearing of the very carriers who are being managed by the DPT. The perception of the carriers demonstrated frustration at best and intimidation at worst. Those perceptions were apparently based on what was determined to be a flawed system of determining the workload for carriers on any given day. Most of the carriers testified that they did not understand the system, and the information provided to them was inaccurate on many occasions. Based on their testimony and statements, it appeared that being called into the office to discuss their shortcomings was synonymous with being harassed in their minds. Now, that's exactly what y'all just heard. What did that lady say, the one that kept screaming like a banshee? Get in there. Get in the carriers' faces. Talk to them about their performance. I don't want to hear anything else. They're saying they're doing the best. I don't want to hear that. Injured workers don't care. You go in there and you address it. She's the one that's going to be creating the hostile work environment. Based on their testimony and statements, it appeared that being called into the office to discuss their shortcomings was synonymous with being harassed in their minds. Intimidation and harassment is only about one person's perception, the person who states that they have been harassed or intimidated. Beautiful. In support of their position, the union offered the decision of arbitrator Peter Clark, in this case, where he opined. The union argues that Postal Service created a hostile working environment by using DOIS numbers to set the carrier's leave and return times. You just heard that in real time on that teleconference. You just heard that. 11 carriers out of 20 submitted written statements to express their feelings of harassment caused by the use of DOIS and the manner in which Supervisor Davis instructed them on their leave and return times. Section 115.4 of the M39 Handbook states, "It is the frontline manager who controls management's attempt to maintain an atmosphere between employers and employee which assures mutual respect for each other's rights and responsibilities." According to the union, the testimony of the three carriers and the statements in the record reveal that a hostile environment was created by postal management beginning on February 24th of 2009. The Postal Service disagrees and cites to a grievance decided by arbitrator Eisenmenger involving similar claims by the union. The arbitrator believes the facts of this grievance are distinguishable from the cited grievance. First, the evidence adduced did paint Supervisor Davis in a negative light and could be considered hostile to some. The complaints made by the carriers who testified and the carriers who submitted written statements center around the conflict between the DOIS numbers and the previous manner in which their leave and return times were determined. In addition, the carriers also complained about how the 3996 requests were handled, perceived heightened supervision, and feeling a lack of trust. All of the complaints were subsequent to the use of the DOIS numbers as the primary method for determining leave and return times. In the arbitrator's opinion, part of the problem is that the carriers have resisted the change and prefer the old method. The other part is the manner in which Supervisor Davis and others have attempted to implement the new process. There's no doubt that people are creatures of habit, and that when a profound change occurs, it is often met with resistance and animosity. In the instant grievance, had the arbitrator found that the Postal Service use of DOIS numbers did not violate the national agreement, most likely Supervisor Davis' behavior would be construed much like the supervisor's behavior was in the side agreements decided by Arbitrator Eisenmenger. However, by concluding that the Postal Service did violate the national agreement, the improper use of the DOIS numbers led to the resistance and animosity and ultimately created a hostile working environment for the carriers. In essence, but for the Postal Service's improper utilization of the DOIS numbers, a hostile working environment would not have been created. Here she comes. Likewise, in the instant case, management first violated the national agreement with the use of the DPT tool to determine route times for city letter carriers. The M39, not the DPT tool, is the recognized method for the determining carrier office and street times. Management was in violation of the National Agreement, Article 5 and 34, when they decided to unilaterally implement the use of the DPT tool to set reporting times for carriers at the Evansville Post Office. In the case at bar, management fell short of disciplining any carriers for failure to meet times established by the DPT. However, carriers were counseled by their supervisor in his office, which potentially could be viewed as an investigative interview. As in Arbitrator Clark's cited case, the improper use of the DPT tool in this case is what led to resistance and animosity and ultimately created a hostile working environment for the carriers. The joint statement was meant to cover all employees, including guaranteeing the right to be treated with dignity and respect. The parties were adamant that they meant what they said. In the joint statement, arbitrators are expected to ensure the parties' intent is adhered to when deciding dispute. And she cites the JSOV again, portion of it. Here the letter carriers at Evansville Post Office demonstrated that a lack of trust was created when management decided to utilize a new system for determining daily route times. The supervisor utilized a system which has been deemed inaccurate at best and flawed at its worst, but most importantly in violation of the national agreement. The distrust of the flawed system then led to a hostile working environment which is contrary to parties' intent and in violation of the JSOVB. Based on the foregoing, the grievance is sustained. Management shall cease and desist from violations of Article 5, 19, and 34, as well as the Joint Statement on Violence Behavior in the Workplace, by utilizing the DPT tool, that's killing me, isn't it? As a sole measurement of determining route times instead of the official methods according to the Handbook M39 and M41. So that's a beautiful decision. Y'all are going to need that wherever this was audio taped at. Y'all are going to need that because you have evidentiary proof that wherever this is at, they're telling them to go out there and badger the carriers based off of PET and DOIS. Y'all heard it. Set their expectations based off of PET and DOIS. Nothing about how are you gauging the carrier's performance. No consideration of a fixed office time. No consideration of a carrier's feedback. I'm doing the best that I can. It's up to you to prove that I'm not. So there you have it. Again, if I'm anybody, district, local, national, any training, we need to get in PET, DOIS, the office. That's one of the main things that's affecting your city letter carriers right now. When we get in there, all these things are going to be handled. We're going to have those teams. We're going to deal with toxic working environment. We're going to educate. And that's a thing that James has said over and over again. Education, that's the most important thing. Get the carriers educated. Not just stewards, not just Formal A's, DRT. Get the carriers educated on the workroom floor to how they're going to handle management just like this. That's being told by their superiors, go out there and create a toxic working environment. All right, so we're going to keep addressing it. All right, we'll address it next Wednesday. I'm going to keep on with this same line. All right, so y'all have a fantastic week. I'll talk to you Sunday on the other podcast. All right, and I'm going to let some people have it on that one, not on this one. Okay, I don't say profane words on this one. Okay, so I love y'all very much, city letter carriers. I love you. Please be safe. I'm in my uniform still to walk straight back here so I could get this over with. But my uniform is soaked too, man. So it's been a tough day. It's hot. It's hot. Please protect yourself. Keep yourself safe, all right? There's nothing more important than you. Trust me, there's nothing more important than you. You see how they think about us. You heard how they think about us. It's all about numbers. Your life doesn't mean anything to them. It's all about numbers. Protect yourself. Okay? I love you. I'll talk to y'all Sunday. Bye.